Yeah, Jatin, over to you.
Okay. So to start off with, I just wanted to give you a quick insights on what is RPA, right? When we talk about RPA, right, we all understand it's robotic process automation as a layman, right? But what is the difference between robotics process automation versus process automation, right? Process automation we used to do until 2014-15 when we used to draw, when we used to write the macros, or a scripting language which was from the coders with the experience or the exposure on the coding language like .NET, JavaScript or VB Script, and create some basic automation which was never been a platform agnostic, right? It can work on, let's say you are creating a macros, it is only viable for the Excel spreadsheet in case you're doing kind of a other automation to basically download the information from the FTP and all, right? It is only viable for the those applications on which we have developed those automation. But when it comes to robotics process automation, it's platform agnostic. That's one. Secondly, right, it's basically creating a virtual employee for your organization or your customer's organization, wherein they go ahead and perform a certain action on a particular task application, which are repetitive in nature, which are rule-based, because right now RP industry is been working on a rule-based processes, right? So any questions if you may have, just stop me then and there, please.
Sure,
Right.
sure, Jatin.
Sure. So from that perspective, right, my robotics process automation, as I was telling you, right, it was platform agnostic. It is basically kind of a drag and drop technology that the tools uses, which are like the different tools that are available in the market is AutomationAnywhere, BluePrism, Uipath, WorkFusion. These are the top 4 categories of the tools which are available on which you actually develop your codes to run a particular automation in an organization or on a particular task. What these tools do, right? These tools go ahead and mimic the efforts that a human take to process a particular transaction or an activity, right, to reach it, right? So, excuse me. So from that perspective, these tool works on drag technology. That's one. Secondly, right, it is not mandatory to have a coding knowledge as well, because there is no actual coding that you do, right? Example, AutomationAnywhere, wherein you just go ahead and drag and drop a particular Hey, can you hear me? I saw that the audio connection was being
Yeah, actually, now I can hear you. Can you come up with the last part once again?
Sure. So what I was saying is, right, these tool works on the drop and drag technology, and in AutomationAnywhere, like you just have to drag an element on which you have to perform a certain action. Let's say you want to open a file, you drag an open file element, which we can cover as a part of a quick demo, right? Wherein you will be able to understand that actual coding knowledge is not required. What these platforms are being developed upon are the .NET platforms, right? The backend, there is a code that gets generated which a user or a developer does not have the access to, but at the end of the day, it's a .NET technology or the coding that is being written on a backend, right? Now, when it comes to RPA, right? RPA, we create virtual bots, right? Or a virtual employee or an FTE, which is full-time employee. We also, as a part of an RPA, right, mimic the task performed by human, right? Which means, let's say if I have to download a particular file from an FTP on a daily basis, right? You create the bot which goes log in into your FTP server, download the file on a particular folder that you have factored upon while creating a bot, right? And it goes ahead and download that into your particular local machine. So what happened is, right, you are doing nothing but mimicking the tasks that are being performed by your employees. Now, the type of bots which are available, right? One is your attended bots, and the other one is unattended bots. The difference between attended and unattended bots, and the third is, before I go ahead, it's a triggered bots, which are again the part of your unattended bots that gets created. The difference between these bots are, right, the first attended bots, they are the bots or the tasks that we create which requires human intervention. Let's say you download the file. Before you download, you have to create a folder, right, as an example, wherein the download of the task can be automated, but before you start, you create a folder and then trigger the bot. Unattended bot, they are also called scheduled bots, right, which means they get triggered or they get executed, they come out of their sleep every day at a particular time that you have mentioned as a part of your development, which means, let's say I want to run a bot daily, right, on a FTP. I will go ahead and schedule it at, let's say, 7 o'clock. So unattended bots can be scheduled at a hourly level, daily level, weekly level, or a monthly level, based on the requirement of the process, which do not require any human intervention. It will come out of their sleep at a particular time that has been defined and go ahead and perform a certain action and go back to sleep, right? These are the unattended bots. Triggered bots are specifically when it comes to, let's say, if my folder is updated with a new file, please go ahead and trigger this bot. If I receive an email, right, I don't know when I will receive an email. I cannot hold on to that email, right, or keep on running my bot to search for the email. So what I do is I create a triggered bot, which means the moment the email comes in, right, my bot gets up, wake up from his sleep, go ahead and trigger the task that needs to be performed and go back to sleep once again, right? So these are the different bots that has been created as a part of the industry, which are the three bots that I've mentioned, which is attended bots, unattended bots, also called scheduled bots, or the triggered bots, which basically trigger a particular or gets out of their sleep or perform a certain action basis the certain element that is being happened in your system. Maybe your email received, you have updated the folder, or even, let's say, you have saved a particular file onto your desktop and then you want to trigger an application or a bot. These are called the triggered bots. Any questions so far?
Yeah, it's going good.
Great. Right. The next part of this, right, which are also I would like to go ahead and highlights about the RPA products. When it comes to RPA products, as I was talking about, one is Automation Anywhere, right? The other one is BluePrism. Then you have Uipath, and then you have, let's say, WorkFusion. Output, at the end of the day, all the tools that are available in the market performs the same action, which is automating, or which I was mentioning about mimicking the human task or the task performed by a human. The output for all the products remains the same. Now, there are some reasons, there are some logics, there are some potentials within the product which provides them the greater stability when it comes to the bot management or bot getting developed. The first is the ease of use or handover, right? This is something which is being rated on the top, which is Automation Anywhere, right? Because it's easier to use, right? It's easier to deploy and develop your bots. These three bots organization or the products, right? BluePrism, UiPath, and WorkFusion, they work on something called flowchart based methodology, wherein your Automation Anywhere works on algorithm based technology. To differentiate, algorithm is basically a step-by-step approach on a particular task that needs to be performed. So you write step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And in case there is some problem, there is some decisions that you need to take, you create, you go ahead and have some decision-making attributes, right, which we will cover in a few minutes, which will help you to take a decisions on a particular task that is being performed. Wherein your BluePrism, UiPath, and WorkFusion, they work on something called a flowchart based technology, which, as you know, flowchart is basically a sequence of tasks or sequence of activities or events that is being performed to complete a task. which is a pictorial representation of your algorithm, right? Nothing else. So these three tools works on the concept of what do you say, the flowchart, wherein this works on the algorithm-based technology. Easier to use, this tool does not require any coding language, right? Knowledge about any coding language, because this works on three different elements. All you need to understand is you should have a good logics, right? You should understand what is if and else. If this thing happened, what will be the process or the task that needs to be performed. Loop, which is nothing but the number of times you want to run your particular task, right, till the time the condition is being satisfied. And the last part of it is variables, which are like your global variables or local variables. When I say global variables is nothing but, and I would say, a box in which you have kept some products or elements into it. When we talk about the same thing into a coding language, right, variables are nothing but a space or an attribute which stores a certain information, right? It can be your integers, it can be your Boolean information, which is true and false, it can be your decimal points, it can be your floats, which is nothing but the exponential values of a particular number, and the string, which is nothing but your text, right? These are the different type of variables. This is all you need to learn or to understand to complete the overall learnings on your RPA front, right?
Okay.
Any questions so far?
No, so when you say there is no need of knowing any technology as such, so does it mean like if we go for some higher level customization, even in that case I would need not to know anything like VB scripts or something?
So the way the market is being positioned right now from an RPA perspective, right, what the market or the vendors are doing, they are working on something called 80-20 rule. So what's that 80-20 rule is? 80% of the population as a part of their development team are the tool experts, and rest 20% are the people who are hardcore technology developers or programmers, right? What happen in all these tools are, you basically go ahead and can call or can execute the external scripts that have been written, right? 90-95% of the task you do not require any customization, because again I'll re-emphasize on the point of mimicking the human task. You're not creating any process, but sometimes, let's say, I'll give you an example, right? This is home button, I want to select the drop down from here, right? This is something which at times cannot be controlled by these tools, because these are something called ribbons, right? Ribbons for which we create an external script, right, and go ahead and do that. But you can also create something by the virtue of your keystroke commands or mouse click commands, where you come here, do that, and provide a keystroke of, let's say, 12 and 8, enter, right? The overall font value or the font size gets changed when it comes to the automation, right? So sometimes, because the moment I select this and move on to a different screen, right? The moment I move on to a different screen, what will happen is this element which was being created or being formed up will lost, right? Will lose the focus. That is where you at times have to write the external scripts to perform certain actions. But 90-95% of the tasks can be automated without any scripting knowledge. And this 5% we have those 20% of the population who will write those code for us.
So will we be having any scenarios covered in our training where we talk about one or two use cases where we need to write the scripts, or any idea of the VB scripts would be given in our training?
Yes, as a part of a training, right, we will help you to understand, right, what will be, or how will you call the external scripts, right? But obviously the focus is on the tool, and we'll focus on completing the automations that are possible from the tools. But all the external elements, how you can call, that will be there. Plus, we will cover, as a part of our training, we usually cover about like would say 50 to 55 different use cases across desktop automation, web automation, and the overall sales CRM, plus one of the end-to-end projects that we will do on a sales automation, which will help you to understand the entire logics that can be built up across web automation and the desktop bit of the application.